Welcome to another episode of the Accountfully Chat. Today we have Charles Gaudet from Predictable Profits. What's up, Charles?
Hey man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this to learn kind of more about your background, what you do, and then really I'd love to chat as we kind of get into the conversation about specific and tangible and actionable items that kind of business owners can take to help them with their business. So, and I know you probably have a lot of ideas on those items. So maybe we get started on kind of what is predictable profits and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. One of the things that we found is that a lot of business owners can take their business to about this $1 to $3 million range through a lot of hard work, word of mouth, and referrals. And then from there, they sort of hit the ceiling anywhere between that 1 and 3 million mark. And they realize at some point they can't scale beyond just hard work, and being exclusively referrals. So they need some strategy. Now, if you look at the strategies that have been built for sustainable growth, a lot of those have been provided by McKinsey and Bain and BCG.
Mhm.
They have these frameworks that they've built, but it's really for those nine-figure companies and above.
Mhm.
Once we get into the smaller companies, they seem to have this mindset of growing, just growing at all costs and growing fast. And that's what sells. And that's why most people and most coaches and most gurus and whatnot, it's all about like, let's get you that shiny penny, the latest funnel, and so forth. But, most of our clients are in the 7, 8 figure range. We understood that they're looking for something different. 66% of all companies that make it on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list, within 5 to 8 years of first getting listed, they'll either shrink in size, go out of business, or be disadvantageously sold. So we had to solve for that. It took almost 15 years. I wish I could say that, it was something that I was able to come up with like that. But it took almost 15 years of just testing and tweaking and whatnot before we actually came up with this framework for 7 and 8 figure businesses that allow them to not just grow faster, but to be able to grow more predictably and make the company a lot less dependent on them, which allows for maximum valuation and helps to protect against burnout, which many people are feeling, especially as they get to that 1 to 3 million mark.
Love it, love it. I do feel like there has been a gap. What's funny about like what you're talking about and who you're talking about, it's like I see Accountfully LLC, which is what we've had and grown for 13 years in that range, and then I see all of our clients we support that are really majority of them are in the ranges you're mentioning, and it's what it's that initial aspect of just looking back at the entrepreneur journey of yeah, growing and grinding and just working and working and working and kind of doing a lot of the billable work to get to that, $1 million revenue range and that type of stuff. And then you just like, I'm going to keep doing the same things over and over and over. And sometimes the rabbit wheel or whatever you want to call it, just kind of like slows down and you get burnt out. And it's kind of like, I feel like a big part of that business owner entrepreneur journey is kind of stepping back and looking strategically. And a lot of times it's very hard to do that
You're
because you're
right.
so much in the day-to-day and tactical aspect of the business. So I'm really excited about this conversation and just because it's tangible to what I've done and what I do as well as what a lot of our clients do. So before we dive into that, what is your background? Like where did where did your entrepreneurial mindset start or journey start and kind of how did it get here?
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 4.
Mm,
I've never had a traditional quote unquote real job.
nice.
After graduating college, I started a business that was nominated by Ernst& Young as being one of the nation's best seed stage companies.
Mm,
At 24, I created my first multi-million dollar business. And then from there, I just continued to build and grow a number of different companies. And in 2010, somebody offered to pay me to help them grow their business. That's when I started Predictable Profits. Since that time, we've taken many companies over the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list. More recently, took a company from 950,000 and brought them to 46 million within 6 years. And now we're looking at 55 million 7 years later and building a plan to take them to 100 million. Now, with the work that we've done over the last few years, especially since COVID, The International Business Times reached out, did a featured story on me, calling me the go-to business coach for 7 and 8 figure companies. And then last week, which was kind of exciting, um, Digital Marketing News did a report of the top thought leaders in marketing and sales around the country. And I was both humbled and blessed to be ranked at the top of that list at number one.
Congrats.
So, yeah, and people usually come to us for one of three things. They're saying, how do I grow the company faster, more predictably, and then less dependent on me? And so, therefore, that's a problem we solve.
So let's get into kind of the aspects of the framework, right? I'd love to kind of
Yeah,
chat more about this. So, kind of what do you have a specific like pillars or
I do.
processes that you follow like as part of it? What is the framework, I guess, at a high level, or maybe even like tangibly and specifically?
Sure. So let's start with like the foundation of everything, and it's called setup. You know, the fascinating thing about setup, right? This is where you kind of have to move beyond word of mouth and referrals. I talk to a lot of people that will come back to me and they'll say, "Oh yeah, we do marketing." I mean, how
Hmm.
many times have you heard that before, right? We do marketing.
1,000.
Yeah. That's about as generic as me telling you, "Oh yeah, I do doctoring. I do doctor." Like, what does that actually mean?
Well, it's the
I
same thing.
realize,
Same thing on
well,
accounting. I do accounting. Well,
I do
specifically what
accounting.
aspect of accounting, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. The thing is you can't actually do marketing. It's fascinating. People say we do marketing, but you can't actually do marketing. And even though I work with 7, 8 figure companies, I just had this conversation with a CEO doing $500 million. And he said the same thing to me. Oh, yeah, we do marketing. So I said to him, I go, well, let me ask you a question. You can't actually do marketing. Marketing is a function. It's a function of three things. It's a function of how you create, capture, and nurture demand. So let's take a step back for a minute. Let's look at this. How effective are you at creating demand? He goes, um, I don't know the answer to that one. I said, no problem. Very typical. Now, how effective are you in capturing that demand? I mean, when you're creating demand, so much of that is the anonymous visitors that are going through the cycle of exploring and evaluating all of their options. They're looking at you, they're looking at the competitors. In your case, Brad, they're sitting there going, you know, do I hire somebody fractional? Do I hire you? Do I have my accountant do it? Do I go to Upwork and have somebody else do it? Like they're looking at everything, right?
yep, yep.
And until they finally make the decision, oh, accountfully is the best option for me. And then you made the short list. So you capture demand. Now these people actually become known, right? And so now that they've become known and capture demand, what are you doing to then move them into nurture demand? Because back like before 2020, companies used to expect their salespeople to do all the heavy lifting. Doesn't work anymore. Sales and marketing used to be on two opposing sides. Now we have this overlap called the unified business development sort of section of the business.
Hmm.
Sales and marketing have to work together because 96% of the buying behavior happens before they actually get on the phone with you. At that point, they're just trying to figure out like, do I want to work with Accountfully?
Yep.
Right. So when you nurture demand effectively, what you're doing is you're creating buyer ready leads so that by the time they get on the phone with you or one of your salespeople, you're just qualifying them at that point.
Hmm.
Are they the right fit? Do you even want to work with them? So setup is the first part. Setup is how you create, capture, and nurture demand. Then as you create these buyer ready leads, you move into the next part, which is sales. Sales starts with qualifying, making sure you are not spending your time with tire kickers, as well as you're not spending time with people you're that you just don't fit your ideal super consumer profile.
Hmm.
Then you move into closing mastery. So much of small business owners is all founder-led sales. And so, you know, in order to then take your business to that next level, you have to be able to break free from founder-led sales. But now let's think about the storyline that most people tell themselves when they're in this position. They say, well, we've tried it before, and I just can't get people to close at the same level that I'm at. Okay. They say, nobody can close as well as I can. And, you know, so that becomes another concern. And that's because the process for how you break free from founder led sales is a little bit more involved than that. I mean, Brad, we'll pick you as an example, right? How long did it actually take you to understand how to sell as well as you do now, to understand like the questions to ask, to answer the objectives, all that other stuff. How long did it actually take you to figure that out?
To do it at a decent level, not too long. Is that the
Okay.
answer? Like,
Well,
I feel like from my perspective, as long as you have like an accounting background and you did what we do or like that sort of service, I feel like it's a
yeah,
very quick process. If you have no idea what's going on, I think it's a longer process.
sure. Would you be surprised to learn though that for most of the people that I talk to, they say it took a few years for them to get to the level that they're at now.
Hmm.
Right. And then most people get stuck in this idea of just free consulting, and eventually try to convert them. It's
Yep.
not always the most effective and can lead to complex. So, it's about creating this sales playbook so you can scale a sales team of both inbound and outbound because you want that balance of both inbound and
Yep.
outbound. You want prospectors, you want closers, the whole deal.
Hmm.
And then I know your business is a little different because you got a lot of recurring revenue, but there's a lot of companies out there that don't have recurring revenue. But if you want maximum valuation, even if you're not considering on selling your business right now, you want maximum valuation, you want more predictability, you want stability, you got to build in MRR, or for those who aren't familiar with that term, monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue. Every business, I don't care who you are, I've yet to find an example where we can't find MRR or ARR. Somebody challenged us at one point and said, okay, gas stations. Well, fortunately enough, I believe you know him, Joe Beecroft, who was once my chief of staff, then got promoted as COO. He goes, got you there because there's somebody in, I think it's near Nashville or whatnot, where he said what they have is it's a mobile gas station or whatnot, a truck. You give them a subscription. They come around, they fill your car at night. And so you never have to go to the gas station. And there you go. That's their MRR. So you want at least 60%. And then we move over to scale. Scale is this is an important part where accountfully really helps people with this because guesswork is a cancer of all business, right? And so you have to know what's working and what's not working. You got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, then you can't be as effective as you otherwise could be. A lot of business owners fall in trouble by not actually knowing the numbers, not knowing where they're moving the needle and where they inadvertently have a leaky bucket in their business, right? And so it's about data intelligence. It's about building the right team, having the right org chart, ensuring that everybody has a KPI. It's about building a business of excellence, the right culture, and so forth. So there's those three things: setup, sales, and scale.
What do they say? Facts over feelings? Is that right? Like facts, we need to have actual data to make good decisions versus how you're feeling, right? I
You're right.
feel like when we started Accountfully years ago, it was very lucky in terms of the timing and the opportunity and having an outsourced accounting firm, a cloud-based outsourced accounting firm. There's thousands of them today, but 10 years ago, they didn't. One of the things it was, right, like, hey, here's the monthly fee, whatever the monthly fee's coming in, let's not assess hours or time spent on that account right at that time
Yeah.
because it's fine, it'll be okay, right? At some point, a couple months in, or maybe 6 months in, we're like, yeah, let's just track time to see how long it's taking us to do this work. And literally, it blew our mind because you think it's like, 5 hours a month. It was 18 hours a month, right? So if you're
Right.
talking about
Right.
getting $500 a month of recurring revenue, monthly MRR, and you're working 5 hours and then it's 20 hours, your margins are awful, right? So, like, you need to
You're
have that
right.
data to assess and understand how to make better decisions, scaling decisions, pricing decisions, service level decisions in hiring moving forward. So I feel like I'm from how I've operated our business, where I'm on the sales side and lead the sales and marketing. I can very much understand kind of what you're talking about on the setup, and then on the scale and the operations. I feel like we've done all those aspects pretty good. There could be improvement points, but I think we've really excelled at more of the operational and data analysis and things like that, which would make sense from an accounting firm. But I can appreciate all the pillars. Thanks for explaining those.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I mean, if you just look at the results, right? You wouldn't go to a unhealthy fat doctor or anything for that matter, right?
well, a lot of
But
people do.
a lot of people do, unfortunately, right? But you feel better, or a trainer, right? Or a trainer, and you wouldn't go to an overweight trainer and expect that trainer
Yeah.
to teach you how to. And that's the one thing. That's the reason why you and I have become much closer because as we looked up accountfully, like you eat your own pudding. One of your competitive advantages are the fact that you do what you say, and that's why you guys have done so well and have grown so fast and so forth.
Yeah, in terms of I appreciate all of that. In terms of specific, I guess coaching. Let's just say coaching in general. So you have a framework,
Yep.
you have this information, this playbook that you come to place with.
Yep.
I would love to understand you as a successful coach.
Okay.
What frustrates you the most when people say they're coaches? I'm a life coach. I'm a business coach. Let's get into that. I'd love to hear some honest thoughts on that.
Well, it's funny. I was at a networking event not too long ago, and I shook somebody's hand. I asked them what they did, and they said they were a business coach. And I felt like I had to run to the bathroom and wash my hands afterwards. I was like, oh, it's. I think the part that frustrates me more than anything is that uh, there's some really great ones, but most of them have gathered all the information from a book or a course. And now they're turning around saying, I'm a business coach. The only business that they've ever grown is their company as a business coach. And uh, David Sandler wrote a book one point that said, you can't learn to ride a bike in a seminar. And that's the same thing. You can't learn to grow a business through a course. There's so many different nuances. You have to have that real world experience. And so, I mean, if I ask you, how many business coaches are you aware of right now that specialize in 7 and 8 figure companies?
I don't know. I don't know. You one
Yeah. Yeah.
particular
And
top
that
of county coaches you have. Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like most people will respond that way. And then they'll say, well, that's true. I don't know if really anyone else or many other people that specialize in 7 and 8 figure companies. But then they ask why. It's the same reason that keeps me up at night that gets me excited to do what I do. Because when you're working with some accomplished, really successful people, what keeps me up at night is the fact that they don't necessarily care as much about the money that they're investing in us. You know what they care more about? That the time they spend with us is the most valuable use of their time. So when we're working with some really smart people, we have to make sure that we're offering a perspective, a strategy, an insight, something that's going to dramatically move the needle in their business. Because, like most people, they're super busy. The idea of saying, hey, can you carve out an hour to spend with me? For many people, they're like, I can't even see that as possible. So, what keeps me up at night is always making sure that, we're a few steps ahead. And especially with all these changes and the disruptions in AI and economically and politically and whatnot, like there's always needs to be something that, we're staying in front. But that's also what excites me. I love these challenges. I love being able to figure out problems. Give me a problem that you tell me is impossible, and that's where I'm going to get my energy and try to solve it. So, I mean, that's sort of like, where we sit from a coaching perspective. That's what I don't like, what I like. It
Mhm.
is what it is.
Um, I'm assuming I know the answer, but you basically could take your program, right, and your framework and apply it to any industry, 7 or 8 figure businesses, right? Like is it industry agnostic? Is it not? I'm assuming everything you're talking about, like everybody has sales and marketing, everybody has execution operations, everybody has everything you're kind of talking about already. So
We
I would
have done this through all sorts of different industries. We get a lot of B2B service-based companies that just tends to be like the big sweet spot where a
assume.
lot of people come. But I mean, we took just to give you an idea of, this framework, a lot of times people build a framework and it's like all boats rise in a rising tide. So it's like if you're deploying something in a bullish market, like it doesn't really matter what you're going to do. You don't have to work too hard and you're going to see some progress. It's
Yeah.
in those bearish, challenging markets that it really gets put to test. I mean, we
Mhm.
took an international travel company in the middle of COVID where the airlines were grounded, everything was shut down. He only got paid for the people that actually were sitting in seats. And leveraging this framework, we were able to break every daily, weekly, and monthly sales record. His competitors doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year were going out of business. We're able to help him become the number one agency in the entire world within his category, and he still holds that position today. We did the same thing with restaurants. Everything's closed. Nobody can, you know, nobody can do anything. And they created some of the best years they ever had. 86% of our clients had the best years they ever had back in COVID. And we could talk about today, but today becomes fundamentally easier than it was back then. But yeah, no, it's been tested, again, across the board. 50, I think last time I counted, it was over 55 different industries. And yeah,
Awesome. In terms of like the bull versus the bear market, I feel like just from, my experience, I do feel like when things are going good and you're just kind of rolling forward, you're missing a lot of opportunities for
yeah,
refinement of efficiencies, of margin gains, of whatever else that kind of can come into play, right? When you kind of get to that down market or a rough economic market as it's been the last kind of couple of years, specifically within the small business space, right? Really impact small business owners.
yeah.
Um, but that allows you and it allows us at Accountfully to kind of refine and relook at the metrics we're looking at, the analysis of profitability by customer, the services we want to offer, et cetera. So I think there's always opportunity in both bull and bear to like identify and continue to improve yourself. And that's kind of sentiments of what you're just saying there as well. From an
One
aspect of,
thing that I
go ahead.
just want to honor you for saying, and uh, this is really great and speaks volumes for who you are. You didn't actually term it good or bad. You didn't say a good market. You didn't see a bad market. As you were talking, the people were reading between the lines. What they should have heard from you is they're just different market conditions. Use the word opportunity when
Mhm.
you reference bear, as well as
Mhm.
opportunity when you referenced bullish market.
Yeah.
There are buyers that you're going to find everywhere. The thing is in a bearish market, it just means that the market is now different. Different markets require different strategies. So you have to be agile and adapt to those strategies. But you mentioned opportunity. Well, not only is there opportunity to make your numbers more effective, right? I mean, we all have fat, and sometimes we don't realize it until we have a bearish market, and then we realize we can become a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. But then if you look at your competitors, what do? I mean, you probably see this every single day. They go, you know what? We're going to cut our advertising budget. We're going to cut our marketing. We're going to start laying people off. We're going to start cutting our expenses. So what they're doing is they're actually making it easier for everybody else who's leaning in a bearish market to capture more market share because they're
Mhm.
scaling back. They're going in the corner. They're sucking their thumbs and they have one strategy, hope. We're just going to hope that things just change and turn around. So we're going to cut all the fat. We're going to cut all our expenses. We're going to sit in the corner. We're going to wait till things change. And then we're going to come right back on. We're going to heavily reinvest. When you adapt your strategies and you lean in, bear markets are, I've been quoted so many times in the media by saying, I love a bear market. And I do because it's the best opportunity that you can find to capture more market share. And then when the market turns around, these competitors going, where did this guy come from?
Mhm.
Right? All of a sudden, now like, boom, you're taking off.
Mhm.
Mistakes go unnoticed when it's a bullish market.
Mhm.
But in a bearish market, people keep their money so much closer to their pocket, they become more discerning. You have to appeal to that discerning buyer. It's got to be far, far, far more strategic.
Love it. I love it. I mean, right now as we kind of move forward just from um, kind of a general question, you mentioned it earlier, kind of how are you what's your initial thoughts in terms of the AI and tech play that's kind of coming to market? Clearly, there's tons of opportunities there of
Yeah.
leveraging that infrastructure and technology to be more efficient and offer more services and systems or services to clients, but also what are your kind of other thoughts on that? There's other opportunities to get replaced and different things like that. I feel like it's not just you know, for me selling a business or a service to businesses and individuals, right? It's on the client side, I feel like customers are almost confused too of like, well, do I need somebody manually to do it? Do I need somebody, can tech just do it, right? So like there's that education component as well, but go ahead.
Awesome. I love this question. It's something that comes up all the time. First of all, one of the biggest mistakes that people have when it comes to AI is they look at it as a technology. Can't look at it as a technology. It's artificial intelligence. It is your most intelligent employee.
Mm,
And so, how do you leverage this most intelligent employee? And so, when you treat it as that, and you give it tasks as such, and you give it feedback as such, you get better results. The quality of your input reflects the quality of your output. People will often ask me, "Are you afraid that your business that you are going to be replaced?" Meaning me. And I said, "I'm not. Not yet, anyway. I don't think that's going to be the case." And they go, "Well, why?" And I said, "Because when you understand the quality of your input reflects the quality of your output, you don't necessarily need to know the answers, but you need to know the questions to ask. And it takes
mm,
experience to create the context that allows you the questions to ask." So that's one. The other thing is that um, what I would encourage all business owners is to make AI a condition of employment. Now, I was just at an event last week, and so many people were saying, well, we're worried, our employees are worried that they're going to get replaced and blah, blah, blah. We're hesitant to bring it in because there's just a lot of, a lot of turmoil about this, a lot of conflict. People just, they think by integrating AI, they're going to be gone. I'm like, see, we're looking at it the wrong way. AI, beautiful thing about it is it can tell you how to compete against itself. So one of the things, one of the exercises that I like to take our clients through is I say, look, go to each one of the people in your company and have them do this. Say, I'm going to use you as an example. Say, I'm an administrative assistant for Accountfully. And, give them a little background on what Accountfully is. What are all the ways that AI will make me irrelevant by the year 2030? So, or, let's look into the future. And it's going to tell you, here's all the ways in which the administrative assistant role will be completely disrupted. Cool. Now let's get another question. What are the skills and abilities that I need to develop by the year 2030 in order for me to remain more valuable to Accountfully and relevant in my role? And then it's going to tell you, here's what you need to do now.
mm,
And so what it will do is it will not only tell the administrative assistant, you do this for every role in your company, not only tell the administrative assistant the skills and abilities that they need to develop, this person is going to be far more valuable now to you. Their output will be faster. The quality in many cases can be better because now they have access to a whole wide world of intelligence. Margins continue to go up and so forth. So, I mean, this is like just a sliver of a much bigger conversation, but you can see that if you don't use AI, I had a conversation with a friend last night, and he's an AI expert. He's actually a chief AI officer for a very well-known industry guru out there. And and he said, Charlie, you know what the funny thing about AI is? The people who say they don't want to use it, it's like standing in front of your washing machine and saying, I'm just going to wash my clothes by hand instead of throwing it in the machine. So it's like use what you have available to you.
mm.
I think it's proven it's no longer a fad. It's here to stay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's it's amazing once you get used to it and start leveraging it, even if it at a minimal aspect. It kind of makes you your eyes blow out a little bit. But that was a fantastic answer, by the way. Like I love it. I love that including that as a required knowledge to leverage that in job positions. That's very enlightening as a business owner here. As we kind of start wrapping up this conversation, KPIs, brand new business owner or growing my business. What are, let's just say, give me two KPIs that they should be looking at, and maybe three if you want to throw one out there.
Sure. How about I give you five? How's
Perfect.
that?
Love
Awesome.
it.
The way that I look at it is I would say if I was on on an island and I had no access to technology, but I just needed to know five numbers to know that everything was going well. What are the five things that I need to know so that I could sleep comfortably at night?
Yeah.
Now, revenue and profit are a given. Like we want to know revenue and profit.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to know, one would be churn rate, right? Because the churn rate, that's how many people are actually dropping compared to the people that are coming in. I want to know churn rate because I can have great revenue and profit, but if people are leaving, that's a red flag. That's a problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
I also like to know NPS scores, right? And I like to know that because I want to know, are people happy? Now, that's a personal thing because I truly want to know that, if I'm on a deserted island, that the team is delivering a service that are keeping people happy. A satisfied client, well, they're going to leave because that means that I'm just giving you the money and getting just, results that, are expected. But when you start going above and beyond, a happy client, they're going to stay with you forever and they're going to refer people.
Yep.
And then I also like to know lifetime customer value because lifetime customer value encompasses a lot of things, but it also lets you know, do people love what you're doing so much they're actually continuing to invest more and more and more?
Mhm.
And if I had nothing more but those five numbers, and it's going to be a little different for different businesses, but if I had nothing
Yep.
more than those five numbers, I feel really damn good.
So revenue, profit, churn rate, NPS, and
Lifetime
lifetime
customer
value of
value.
customer. Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. All right. As we kind of wrap this up, this has been awesome, an awesome chat so far. Every business owner has do's and don'ts and recommendations and everything that people and coaches tell them to do, right? Give me one do and one don't for the entrepreneur business owner who's growing their business.
Got it. This isn't sexy, which is why you don't hear it a lot because it's not what sells, right? The one do is optimization. For most of us, we have everything we already need sitting in under our noses within our business that will allow us to get to that next big revenue milestone. It might be, for example, we just ran this workshop the other day for our clients. Most small business owners, when they look at the number of the traffic that comes to their website and the number of qualified calls that they get, they realize that it's only 0.2% of all their traffic actually converts to qualified calls. So what's happening to the other 99.8% of that traffic? So, that's the optimization part. There's so many things, so many things. I mean, just on LinkedIn alone, people are doing it wrong. They're just slamming people with spam messages and everything else. On LinkedIn alone, per prospector, we're setting on average 12 appointments per week. Doing something different. You have to be willing to, it's called delayed gratification. You have to be willing to meet the buyer where they're at, build a relationship, and then from there, welcome them into a conversation. There's
Mhm.
so many things. You and I could talk for 3 days about this stuff. But let's talk about the don't, right? If you look around, Brad, and you say, okay, how are most small business owners leveraging their marketing? And more likely than not, the whole premise behind everything they do is this funnel, right? This funnel that kind of looks like a regular funnel. And what do we see? Top, middle, and bottom. So take a guess, Brad. When do you think that funnel was actually designed?
Probably pre-internet, pre-digital marketing days.
Yeah, I believe it was actually 1898, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
1898 when it was first actually built. It was only refined one more time in 1924. One more time in 1924. So let's think about this for a minute. We've got small business owners right now that are saying, I don't understand. I'm trying everything that I could. I've tried marketing. I've hired these people. We're not getting the results that we need. I'm not sure. I don't know how much more time and money I can spend in trying to actually make things work. Everybody's using a playbook that was built over 100 years ago. It's kind of like saying you're going to go to Manhattan and use a map for horse and buggies. Like, logically, it doesn't make sense, but it's still being used today. The buying funnel has completely changed. The modern buyer is completely different. Stop using the funnel that's been built well over 100 years ago. Start thinking about the modern buyer. And especially when you look at that setup and how you create, capture, nurture demand, and understand that our buyers have become researchers and they go through this cycle of exploration and evaluation, some data suggesting over 36 times, like we have to play to that buyer. And that would be the don't. And you catch me tomorrow, I might say a different don't. But that's just, top of mind right now. It's just something that is huge, huge, huge opportunity. Once you get that, puts you like miles and miles and miles ahead of your competition.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Thanks for all that information. Really enjoyed the chat today, Charles. This is Charles Gaudet from Predictable Profits. Where can we find you at, Charles? And where can people learn about what you do and get more tidbits and information, just like you just dropped?
Sure. Well, predictableprofits.com is where you can find us. Again, that's predictableprofits.com. If you want to connect with me, it's Charles Gaudet over at LinkedIn. Just tell me that you've been on this podcast and I will accept your invite. You can connect with me over at LinkedIn. Also on predictableprofits.com, you can go to our book and you can get our book. You can get it for free. All you have to do is pay for shipping. So there you go. There you go, right there. So you can get the book for free on predictableprofits.com, or you can go to the Beyond Seven Figures podcast and you can catch the interview that you and I had as well on the Beyond Seven Figures podcast.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I got the book here. I'm actually the family's heading out to Jackson Hole this weekend for some a family vacay, and I'm gonna be bringing this book and diving into it while I'm kind of hopefully in a more calming state from just enjoying a vacation up in the mountains in Wyoming. So, well, thanks
Awesome,
for your
buddy.
time, Charles. I really appreciate it. Again, this is the Accountfully Chat. Charles Gaudet from Predictable Profits. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks.